The conversation of the nation.
Free call 0500 1053 89.
Well, it's raining again.
It's that lovely rain that you get, which is rain and then sun, and it's quite sort of steroids for about, it could be Thailand.
I know. Very strange.
Controls a Major Tom.
Will he offer me his teeth? Always read the label.
I don't know about you, but I reckon that the most overrated concept in modern life, since the dawn of civilization, is order. Order! Who needs it? The telephone number is free call 0500 1053 89. What we need is chaos, and plenty of it. You love it, I love it, you love it, you don't know you love it, but yes you love it. Otherwise, now listen to this, I'm talking to you, your life wouldn't be as it is. Because you've chosen your life. And is it chaotic or what? Free call 0500 1053 89. It's all over the shop, isn't it? I mean, and it always has been all over the shop. I mean, have you ever really felt as though it was sorted? Have you ever really felt, right, that's it, I can relax now, I can take it easy, I can go and sit on a mountaintop underneath a cherry tree and go, No. And you never will. Because you walk towards the sound of gunfire, don't you? You walk towards the signs of chaos because you love it. That's why you love the snow. Because it completely destroys whatever sense of order it was that had us going off like lemmings at 7:45 in our lines of cars and getting our children to the railings by 8:20 and then going off to the shop or off to the office where we would replicate the previous day's experience. We hate that order. We fight that order. We know that's not what life's supposed to be all about. We want something to disrupt it. We want something to explode it. We want chaos. So when it snows, or when there's a fire alarm goes off, for example, even a bomb scare, for goodness sake, there's something in us that appeals to the gleeful child that enjoys a little bit of mischief lovers, naughty children, naughty adults, love chaos, and that's all of us, every single one of us. You love it. Your life is chaotic because that's what you want. Life is a self-fulfilling prophecy, but sometimes we don't know what our own prophecies are for ourselves. And if your life is chaotic, you've got the life you wanted. Not long ago, there was one of those bomb scares, and it was in a building next door to Talk Radio, and it was about 3/4 of an hour before this show was due on the air. And I happened to be in the pub, having a meeting. And I got a phone call on the old Moby, and it was, you can't come in because the building's cordoned off. So I said, that's great. We'll do the show here. We'll do the show on the phone from the rubber dub. Marvellous. And I noticed that inside me, I was getting an even greater sense of excitement and anticipation than one would normally get, simply because it was bound to be a chaotic show. With all the restrictions and the background noise and the one-armed bandit and the rest of it. It was the chaos that I was drawn towards. The unpredictability, the uncertainty. Having to make do with an impossible situation really appealed to me, and it appeals to you as well, doesn't it? Look at children. We sit them in those school classrooms all day long in lines behind uniform desks and get them to chant in unison. And get them to do written work in unison and have them do their O's and their P's and their Q's identically. And then we let them off the leash to be who God made them, what they want to be. And what do? They rush out into the playground and they create what? An ordered universe? I don't think so. They create chaos. Especially when the wind blows. Why is that? Why are children at their most uncontrollable when the wind blows? It's a side issue, but it's there. Free call 0500 1053 89. As Zorba said in the movie, life, boss, is trouble. You've got to undo your belt and enjoy it. Free call 0500 1053 89. Chaos now plays an important part in science. The world's top scientists from Stephen Hawking down are using the word chaos to explain the fact that they can't quite explain everything in the universe, and they now believe they never will be able to. And rather than use the word God, they use the word chaos. This is true. We worship God if we are God-fearing folk. We atheists and agnostics, We worship chaos. Same guy, same dude. Free call 0500 1053 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
Talk Radio, the nation's interactive station.
Free call 0500 1053 89. Free call 0500 1053 89 now.
Madeline calls from Durham. You're on Talk Radio. Hello, Madeline.
Hello, Tommy. Chaos rules okay?
Yeah, fantastic.
Totally. Why do people have to have plans? It's so boring.
Yeah.
Why do people have to be at places at certain times? Why do they have to live their life like that? Why do they have to go to Sainsbury's every Saturday morning and then moan about the queues? Why?
Yeah, why?
Why do they have to do it, really?
Well, there's lots of men driving their cars because that's what they do in the afternoon because they have to, and they're shouting at the radio. They're shouting at you, Madeline. They're shouting because we're stuck with it, you silly mare.
Well, you don't have to. You don't have to go to places at certain times. You don't have to go for...
Well, how do those men get out of it? How do those men who are stuck in their sales rep jobs, how do they get out of it once they've realised, of course, that you are right and you presumably are free?
Yes. Free as a bird.
Well, how do we get that then?
Well, I don't know. It's just an attitude, really. You just don't have to live your life according to plan.
Well, you do once you've got a mortgage and 2 children to pay for. Ah.
I've got a mortgage, and I don't live my life according to plan.
No?
No? Why? I just want to know why people do it. Why do they moan? Because they have to live it like by a plan?
I don't think people quite have made the connection between the simple fact that although you're told you should live an orderly life, we have an awful lot more fun when we're being slightly radical and kicking the system. Do you know what I mean?
That's right. Totally. I totally agree with you. I was laughing at you yesterday. You had the phone in on exams, and I was on my way to an exam, and I just had so much chaos getting to it. I went for a coffee just before the exam, and the fire alarms went off, and I was just totally living on a whim.
Very gleeful, isn't it? Have you heard of a condition called Tourette's syndrome?
Yes, I have, actually.
Yes. It's quite interesting, isn't it? Because it seems to me that those who are blessed with Tourette's syndrome are drawn towards, well, certainly mischievousness.
Yes.
And possibly chaos.
Yes. I don't know much about the theory of chaos. Do you know much about the physical theory of chaos?
The physical theory of chaos?
Yes. About how it about it, I don't know much about that, but I mean, I'm just on about life as a whole.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks for your call. Tourette's syndrome, named after the French doctor who identified it first in a patient whose symptoms were, first of all, that he would maniacally, for no apparent reason, and it was beyond his control, utter all sorts of oaths and catechisms at moments when it was most embarrassing for him that he did it and for those who were in his company. So he would suddenly swear apparently uncontrollably. He couldn't control it. Something in him was controlling it because he chose the moments when it was most inappropriate for him to swear. That was verbally. His other tics included doing the things that were the most embarrassing and the most inappropriate wherever he was. He had a perfect mechanism for judging what was ordered behaviour, because when ordered behaviour was most called for, then he became mischievous, he became naughty, he became chaotic. And I am describing somebody who's been in and out of the news an awful lot over the last 48 hours and just wondering, and I'm asking a question, and I'm doing it as diplomatically and I hope as positively as possible. Because some people, more than others, are drawn physiologically, by their bodies, to chaos and disorder and disobedience. A physical condition. It's known as Tourette's syndrome. There's no cure as such because an awful lot of this planet's most marvellous and talented people may have enjoyed this condition in one form or another. And it is something to be celebrated, as far as we know, rather than provoke cause for concern. Free call 0500 1053 89. And it's in all of us. There's a little bit of it in all of us. We're all kebab eaters, a little bit. David calls from Cambridge. You're on Talk Radio. David, good afternoon.
Hi, Tommy.
David.
I've got a totally chaotic job, and I love it.
What do you do?
I drive trucks, but the thing is that I work for an agency as a driver, and I never know whose truck I'm going to be driving or where I'm going to be going from one day to the next, and I can be anywhere in England. It's brilliant.
Freedom.
Absolutely.
Freedom.
Superb.
Yes.
Superb, and I spent 20 years tied to an office, man.
Yes. And I bet when you were in the office, you tried to rock the boat a little bit from time to time just to get through the day?
I was the managing director. I could rock the boat any time I liked.
Oh, is that as satisfying as rocking the boat for the managing director?
Probably not.
No.
Probably not.
No,
But now I can rock everybody's boat, which is brilliant.
Wonderful, isn't it?
It's absolutely superb. Absolutely superb. 6 o'clock last night. I hadn't got a clue what I was doing. 6:10, I find that I'm on my way to Cambridge, Milton Keynes, and All Points West or whatever. And I'm sitting in Cambridge now talking to you. Tomorrow, I do know what I'm doing tomorrow because my family are coming home from a holiday in Florida, but Friday could be anywhere.
I don't know if this is an act of worship to the great god Chaos, but from time to time, if I've got about an eighth of a tank of petrol, and we're just coming up to a service station, and the next one is 47 miles.
You go for it, don't you?
I do, yeah. Do you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do that as well. Yeah. Have you ever run out?
Yeah, once.
Yeah, so have I.
And do you know what I did? Part of me went, oh, for goodness sake. And the other part of me went, yeah.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Gonna be late home tonight.
Didn't make it, did it?
Thank you, David.
No, it's absolutely brilliant.
Nice one. Free call 0500 1053 89. Nick calls from Oxford. You're on Talk Radio. Nick, good afternoon.
Hello, Tom. How are you?
Nick, I'm well. You?
Nice to speak to you again. When you first said about chaos theory, indicating an acceptance by the scientific community that some things actually were unknowable and unpredictable, I rather sort of balked at it. But in fact, you're absolutely right. Because in the same way, and I mentioned to your research Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, which states very, very briefly that a particle moving between point A and point B, the only certainty we can have is the time it leaves point A and the time it arrives at point B. We can't say what its speed was, only an average speed, because the very act of trying to measure the speed of the particle would affect both its trajectory and its speed. Are you with me?
Well, to be
that's only the
brutally honest,
point, Tom.
Not really, but anyway.
Anyway, so what I'm actually saying to you, the details of what happened to that particle when it's in transit, we can't say. All we can say definitely, it left point A at one time and arrived at point B at another. So we can't predict that, it's happening during its journey, yeah? Okay, now then, chaos theory. Again, the unknowability of things. And the classic illustration, Tommy, is what caused the hurricane? What caused the cyclone? And people have talked about rising air, hot air, etc., and all the rest of it. But it could be, and you'll love this, Tommy, what started initially was the flapping of a butterfly's wings that started the tiny breeze that picked up, that eventually became the cyclone. And that is chaos theory.
No, it's not.
It is, dear
No,
boy.
it isn't. No, you're wrong. You're totally wrong. That is not chaos.
I stand to be corrected, Tom.
A butterfly's wings flapping in Thailand, becoming a hurricane in Florida 6 months later.
No, I leave it. Tommy, please tell me.
Is the theory of consequence.
It's also chaos.
No, it isn't chaos. It couldn't be. It's the opposite of chaos.
Some of you say so.
It's the opposite of chaos because.
Really?
Yes, because if everything has a consequence.
I know.
And cause.
It's the unpredictability.
No, it's not unpredictable at all. It's predictable. It's very predictable. It's an illustration of how predictable everything is.
Tommy, I wasn't looking for an argument.
Well, you got one because you're wrong.
Am I?
The butterfly wings and the hurricane in Florida is an illustration that everything has a cause and a consequence.
Well, everything has a cause and a consequence, but I'm saying
it doesn't. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
What the cause is.
No, it doesn't. Not if there is such a thing as chaos. What? I'll give you a call. Free call 0500 1053 89. Andrew calls from London, and we'll speak to him in a second. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
Tommy Boyd. Free call 0500 1053 89.
Oliver Oliver calls from Birmingham. You're on Talk Radio. Oliver, good afternoon.
Hello, Tommy. I'm just ringing to say I've left my job a week ago. My life's in chaos, and I'm loving every minute of it right now.
Dead and loving it. Fantastic. What are you doing then?
At the minute, I'm just, well, I'm on the phone to you, Tommy. No, I finished my job a week ago. I hated it and I got bored, so I jacked it in. I'm just in between jobs is the phrase I'm using. I want to have a good time, enjoy the World Cup, and then get another job when the money runs out.
You're a bit trepidatious about your circumstances, of course.
No, I'm not actually.
A little bit.
I'm really relaxed. It's the first time I can say I've been relaxed in many years.
Grand. Well, that's grand. Well, is that chaos, really?
I think it is, because I went to school at 4. I've been in full-time education. I'm 22 years old now. I've never done anything. Do you know what I mean? My whole life was mapped out. I had a job lined up before I left university. For the first time, I don't know what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. Yesterday I was in Oxford, today I'm in Birmingham. And it's really nice just going with the flow, enjoying it for a while. I'm not worried about the future, because whatever happens, it'll happen. Why go grey today when you'll go grey tomorrow anyway?
But then, I think with chaos there needs to be an element of fear, however small, because we're out of control of our circumstances if chaos really reigns. And I like to think that part of me warms to that, and I think part of you does too. It's just that maybe you haven't noticed it.
I was going to say, perhaps perhaps I haven't given it thought yet.
Well, you are standing on the edge of a small precipice, aren't you? Because it might not all work out.
I know, that's something I thought about, driving up from Oxford yesterday. When you've got 5 minutes to yourself. Perhaps I'm just being carried away in the tidal wave of happiness that I'm enjoying right now. But there we go, I'm enjoying it, and for the first time in my life, I don't know what's happening tomorrow. And I'm loving every minute of it. That's the phrase I'm going to use for the rest of the summer as I enjoy the World Cup.
Enjoy. Who's going to win?
Enjoy. It's not going to be England. I think Brazil this year.
Do you think so?
Unfortunately.
Because old, what's his name, Romario's out with a calf, isn't he?
Oh, I don't know. The first I heard about...
Yeah.
All I know is Gaza at the minute, so...
Yes. There is Gaza, isn't there?
I'm glad he's not in there. I'll stand up.
He's chaos, isn't he?
He's chaos, and he's doing all right for himself. No one can criticise for what he's achieved personally.
I think you're right. But he's drawn to chaos, isn't he? And if it's not chaotic, he isn't comfortable.
That's right. Perhaps in a way he likes chaos controls him. That's his method of controlling himself.
He has a gleeful. He is a chaos magnet.
That's right. Yeah.
And that he has that gleeful look, and his tongue darts out, and his eyes either bulge or squint every sort of 4 or 5 seconds.
Yeah.
If things aren't chaotic enough for him.
And I say good luck to him for that.
Thanks for your call. Free call 0500 10 53 89. There's never been a world-class sportsman like him. In so many ways. Simon calls from Surrey. You're on Talk Radio. Simon, good afternoon.
Tommy, you would be a disruptive influence in the workplace.
Yes.
I wouldn't employ you in my company. I'm a manager of an insurance company. You've got a bad attitude. I've actually got a day off today, and I'm preparing a course during my day off, and a presentation for my company. I go into work at 7 o'clock every morning. I work till 10 o'clock at night. And if anyone leaves before 7 o'clock, I have put a black mark against their name. I think you're the typical sort of person who's very irresponsible. You just think of yourself and your own family, and you don't think about corporate objectives.
Yeah, well, we all wish we were you, really.
You wish you were me?
Well, we all wish we were you, really. But, well, we haven't got it, Simon. We haven't got what it takes.
Well, I think you have. I think it's just a matter of having the effort to think of, be a team player and think of other people. Think of people in the team, think of the company profits. Have you ever worked for a large insurance company?
Oh, yes, I have, but I can't mention the names, obviously.
Did you take any examinations, like accountancy or actuarial, or did you just treat it as a place to socialise?
No, naturally, I approached the thing, as we all do in a new job, I approached the thing with the kind of diligence that's born out of hope that you might have found your natural home, and we always feel like that when we go off to start a new job, don't we, Simon? Only to discover
Well, I've only had one job since I went to university. I won't quit uni like some of your callers do. I find that very bad form. University is a very serious matter. And since then, for 25 years, I've been at the same company, and I have progressed steadily through being basically a Burke. Actually, I'm making all this up.
Yes.
Could you guess?
Pretty.
Bad.
Well, not bad, really.
I'm imitating my boss at a large insurance company. My name is actually Vic. I've phoned before, but I gave a false name.
Yeah.
But I think it makes a point anyway.
It was a fairly good piece of character acting. I mean, look, put it this way. It would have graced any ITV sitcom. And could have been written for you by most of the writers of ITV sitcoms.
Yes.
It wouldn't have got into an American sitcom.
No.
Their characters are richer and, generally speaking, more sympathetic.
Well, yes, I was trying to be a typical staid sort of...
Yes.
Well, if you've ever worked for an insurance company, I think you'll know what sort of people they are.
Is it really that dull being in insurance?
Well, I was more or less sacked for being a disruptive influence, so I know what it's like.
But is it really that dull?
Oh, incredibly, yes. And if you've got a sense of humour, or if you've got any sense of irony or anything like that, then you are a disruptive influence.
Really?
Oh, it's quite amazing, yeah. And there's people there that stretch out 3 hours work till 10 hours and to stay late just because they feel that is the right thing to do. Quite sad, really.
Yes, I used to occasionally drink in a place where there was a chap who was in insurance, and he said he was doing very well out of it because it was his firm, and he said that he would insure anybody against anything. So we would from time to time go up to him. We'd try and concoct things that he couldn't possibly insure us against, such as marrying a female impersonator or, you know.
Yeah.
And he would quote us.
Hello?
So, yeah.
Yeah, this was the more like large insurance company dealing with life insurance and this sort of thing, which of course is very dull and...
Yeah. Mind you, I knew a bloke who worked in an insurance firm, and it was a prefab building near a mainline railway station. Very dull work. About 8 men, very dull.
Yeah.
And they took insurance for American vehicles.
Yeah.
And they insured some car driver in Wichita. Or at least, you know, they took it on somehow. And what happened was, one day, underneath the door, because the mail used to come underneath the door of this prefab, they got a claim through for an accident he'd been involved in, right, which they were going to have to pay out for.
Yeah.
And it was for $18 million.
Was it a Jensen or something?
No, he'd run into the back of, what's her name? Not Belinda Carlisle. Maybe it was Belinda Carlisle, I can't remember. He'd run into the back anyway of this American pop star, and she'd put her neck out, and they had to cancel a world tour.
I see. Yeah, third party sort of thing.
Yeah, anyway.
Anyway, Tom. Sorry.
It's the only interesting insurance story I know. I don't suppose you know any others.
Not really, no.
It's pretty dull, isn't it?
Well, if I thought, I just suddenly had the idea of...
well, thanks for ringing me up.
Phoning up. I just thought of a good idea, Tom. You ever thought having a programme when you do everything in sort of like Gilbert and Sullivan rhyme?
Yeah, that's on the list, yeah.
Yeah, there is the man we love to avoid, his name is Tommy Boyds, something like that.
July the 24th.
Really?
Yeah, Gilbert and Sullivan hour.
Yeah, I think that'd be fantastic.
Well, enjoy.
Okay.
You can start planning now. Andrew calls from London. You're on Talk Radio, Andrew. Good afternoon.
Hello, Tommy. Yeah.
Andrew, yes.
Actually, I think the case of a rope, actually, if you are a long piece of cable, if you sort of like put it on the ground or something like that, within a few minutes or so, it becomes entangled. And I think that is, I always look at that, and I always think about the mathematical theory of chaos, really, itself, that there is something behind that thing, really. I just cannot understand it. All the time, you sort of like put rope down or cables. It looks so funny.
Yes.
And it looks so foolish thinking about this kind of things, but it does really practically happen all the time, even though you arrange it very well, or maybe you call up the
Very
cable.
good point.
Yeah. I've always observed that all the time, and I think I knew when I was still young, when I used to look at my dad's engineering books on mathematics and all that, there used to be a whole chapter on chaos really there, and, you know, I used to wonder, and there's some very complex calculations there, really, on it, really.
Do you know, one thing I've never learned is how to actually make a coil of rope, because you take the end in your left hand, don't you?
Exactly,
if you're right-handed, and you run it over your elbow.
Yeah.
And then back to your hand, and over your elbow. And you go, woo, 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 like that. Then you take it off your hand.
Yeah.
And you've got a coil of rope.
Yeah.
But it quickly goes long.
Yes.
So then you hold it in the middle.
Yeah.
And you take the end of the rope and you wrap it round the middle.
Exactly. That's what you do for cables. Like, because I usually work on a PA in a church system. Yeah. And I actually call up the ropes, the cables. And actually, before you know it, they're all gone back entangled and all that.
Yeah, it's
very frustrating, really.
Unless you've got a drum to wrap your rope or cable around.
Exactly, and even with the drums too. You find that even around the drums, there is a tendency for it to become chaotic. Yes. But it's because it's around I think a spindle or something like that. It sort of like stays on. But it slides off. They slide on top of each other and all that stuff.
Now you've mentioned this, you see.
Yeah.
Last night, I went to the kitchen drawer to get out a teaspoon.
Yeah.
To put a teaspoonful of sugar in somebody's tea.
Yes.
And I noticed that there were 6 new teaspoons, which were very big and flat. They were almost like miniature soup spoons. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I said to my wife, these are new.
Yeah.
And she said, I didn't buy them. She said, they've just started accumulating.
Oh.
And I said there were 6. There were about 5 of these in the teaspoon drawer, where we had about 6 ordinary-sized teaspoons, a couple of other things like corn on the cob skewers. Do you know what I mean, those things?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And a little thing that you can put in a bottle of wine. To keep it.
Yeah.
And that's all in the teaspoon drawer.
Yeah.
But then alongside all those things that are supposed to be in the teaspoon drawer were 5 teaspoons which neither of us had bought.
And could it have been your children who put it there or something?
I don't know. Either one of my sons is stealing teaspoons and bringing them home. I doubt that. Because if they are turning into kleptomaniacs, I want them to get something decent like a VCR or a Vauxhall, you know?
Yeah.
Quite like a Cavalier.
It's just like one of my...
Scirocco.
One of my aunts...
Not a teaspoon.
One of my aunts used to say that if, I think he used to sort of like tease her husband, and she used to say that even if you're going to actually have an affair, please have it with a very beautiful woman.
Who said that?
My aunt.
Your aunt said that?
She used to tease my uncle,
Yes.
They used to tease each other.
Well,
and they say, even if you are going to ever, and I know you're never going to do it.
Yeah. But that is good advice. That is good advice. If you're going to have an affair, I'm sure my wife would be very insulted if, when I have my next affair, it's going to be with somebody who's not as attractive as she is, or she thinks she is. You made a very good point here. But you're quite right. If my sons are stealing teaspoons, I should tell them that if they're going to go into that kind of thing,
they should go gold for gold ones, really.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Anyway, Tom, I want to also mention, the case of the guy you were talking about with this condition.
Tourette's syndrome, yes.
Yeah. I think maybe in Europe you might sort of like find the physical answer, but in Africa or elsewhere they'll say he's demonically possessed because they believe that people have the dual, more than 2 personalities. If you have if a person is demonically possessed, you have various kinds of personalities. They start speaking in various funny ways, really, and the vocal cords, I think, change. Did that happen with that guy? Does his vocal cords change?
I can't imitate how a person behaves verbally under Tourette's syndrome because of the actual vocabulary which they employ, which is non-broadcastable.
Okay.
But if you imagine that what they do, for example, and I've read a book by Oliver Sacks, the neurologist, which features a chapter on somebody with the condition who he calls Ricky Tikki Ray, who twitches a little bit physically, but generally speaking, the only clue you have to the fact that he has Tourette's syndrome is that, for example, he might go into a shop to ask for some chewing gum, and he would say, "Could I have some chewing gum, please?" You! Blip, 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 blip. And then he would have to say, "I'm terribly sorry about that. I have Tourette's syndrome." I suppose, yes, some people would say that is a form of possession, isn't it? Because
it is, because
briefly that person is clearly not themselves.
I've seen it before, actually, in the gospel situation before. I mean, not here, but in Africa. And the person changed his voice, started to swear. All of a sudden. And the chords changed. You understand me? You just know this wasn't the person that was speaking a minute ago.
Well, I often wonder, whether people who we speak of as having genius, in one way or another, had they not found either artistic or scientific or economic or political outlet for their condition, would have been called mentally unwell. Take Mozart, for example, who apparently had some very bad manners and some very poor social habits, but happened to be quite good on the old harpsichord, was elevated to the level of genius, and his work will live forever. But had he not been shown a harpsichord, I'm pretty certain he would have ended up in a bedlam, in a mental home, if they had in those days.
Yeah, because it was so fortunate that somebody recognized his skill.
Extraordinary skill. Extraordinary skill. And I can think of plenty of politicians, artists, sports people who, had they not found impressive outlet for their what's the best way of putting it? For the particular dimension which their condition had, almost certainly, would have ended up either under treatment or on the streets.
Tommy, that brings to mind Gaza, really.
I
think he's a genius.
It's your observation, not mine.
Okay.
It's your observation. And you're entitled to it.
Well, he has a touch of genius in him.
Yes.
Because one thing I noticed about him is that he could not necessarily need to run around, but he could sort of like serve the ball quite very well to the forward liners. And I mean, he's really good. I know that. I'm not supporting England, unfortunately, but I know that England has lost one of his finest sons.
Okay, well, before you go, then I must ask who you are going to support in the World Cup.
Nigeria, of course.
Nigeria.
Yeah.
Them Eagles, huh?
Oh, yeah, Super Eagles. You know, Eagle is a symbol of victory.
Yes.
Yeah. But one more thing, Tommy.
Yes.
You know, last week you were talking about the English and the Dutch and Germans, I think.
Yeah.
I think the Dutch, to me, because of their language, and I think they were the English that never crossed the English Channel.
Yes.
That's how I look at them, because they have so much similarities with England, to the point that, you just know that there is, I'm very sure they were of a singular tribe before, the English and the Dutch. Is that true?
Sorry, which bit?
The Dutch.
The Dutch?
Yeah. I look at them as more or less, because of their language, their culture, everything, they're more or less like the English across the English Channel.
Well, if you go to have you ever been to, say, Norfolk, for example?
Yes.
You've been out that neck of the woods?
Yeah.
If you look at an awful lot of, first of all, the terrain, which is quite flat and there's plenty of windmills. I know that's superficial.
Yeah.
But if you also look at a lot of the architecture as well, and you make inquiries as to who owns the farms, and who built the canals, you'll discover that the east coast of southern England is a miniature Holland. So, but I hadn't made the connection, and it's a good observation.
Yes.
And come on, you Super Eagles.
Oh, yeah.
I think you're in there with Yugoslavia, aren't you?
Yes, I'm worried about our goalkeeper, though.
I would be.
They have to get rid of him.
I would be. The man can't catch. Have a good World Cup.
And you too, man. Yeah.
Free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
Across the UK, this is Talk Radio, the conversation of the nation. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Jim's in Liverpool. You're on Talk Radio. Hello, Jim.
Hello, Tommy.
Jim.
I just want to make the point that people enjoy creating chaos.
Yeah.
Because people, that's point number one, none of us choose how or where we were conceived. And none of us choose into which circumstances we were born into. And when one finds oneself in a situation of total conformity, there is a natural urge to buck the system and create chaos.
And we find out we're going to die.
Oh, yes.
Life's full of surprises, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we don't know what happens to us when we die, for sure.
No.
So you're right. So the big things in life are nothing more or less than chaotic surprises.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Absolutely. I mean, I was listening to a speaker there before because I joined the Marines at 16, and I found that I found it so regimental and so conformist that I was always doing things like putting bogus notices on the board, and creating chaos on the ships. You see. And then even when I commanded the forces, I was such a nonconformist that I finished up selling insurance for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And of course, another thing, you see, the extent to which you conform depends on your needs. And the simpler your needs are, the less you have to conform. You don't take on big expense and so on and so forth. But it's a very, very big subject.
Maybe if there is a lot to be said for chaos, because it's our natural spiritual home, and this is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
I wouldn't say it's your natural spiritual home. I think it's you look at society, which is chaotic, but it's a form of chaos which has conformity, and you in actual fact upset the chaotic conformity.
Yeah.
Does that sound double Dutch?
Well, I don't know, because I wasn't really listening. I was trying to work out whether, you see, there was anything in this, because you made the point that our birth is chaotic. It's a complete accident, isn't it?
Exactly, yes. Our birth is chaotic, yes.
You know what I've always wondered?
What?
Supposing a different sperm, besides the one that did actually fertilise the egg that became you, Jim.
Yeah.
Supposing a different sperm had got there.
Yeah.
You'd probably look a bit different, wouldn't you?
Oh, yes, you'd look a bit different. Yes,
but would you be a different person?
Oh, yes, you'd be a completely different person.
You're very certain about that?
Yeah.
Therefore, Jim, every sperm is sacred.
Oh, yes. Every sperm is sacred, did you say?
It's an individual, you're saying. It's an individual.
Yes. It determines your individuality.
My God. That opens a can of moral worms, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But the other thing is this, you see, if chaos is our natural spiritual home, right?
Yes.
Then, do you think that, for example, a radio broadcast like this should, therefore, be more chaotic and would be more attractive if it were even more chaotic?
Well, yeah, I think so, yes, because it's a program which questions conformity. It's a program which questions conformity, and it's a program which stimulates thought, and people think, and then they see the world as being chaotic, and people find themselves conforming to all sorts of chaotic situations.
Take, for example, the drip feed of news that we get from the media, which tends to happen at 60-minute intervals.
Yes.
And take up between sort of 90 seconds and 3 minutes of our lives.
Right, yes.
It's very orderly, isn't it?
Yes.
And you come to expect it and set your watch by it. And everybody does it.
Yes.
Everybody does it.
Yes, because...
News on the hour.
The news creates conformity.
Yeah. Does it?
Oh, yes.
And yet everything which is in the news is effectively a piece of chaos.
Yes.
Because it's unexpected, and therefore it's newsworthy.
That's right.
Right. So it's a non-chaotic celebration of some chaos.
Yes.
Yes. But should it then come in whenever or wherever? I mean, should I tell Maria Duarte to come back later?
Yeah.
At 3 o'clock? That wouldn't be chaotic, that would be a stunt.
Yeah.
And that's,
I mean...
samey radio.
Some people are mentally in a chaotic state. I mean, some great sportsmen are mentally in a chaotic state.
We're back to him, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's mentally chaotic.
Yeah.
See, and doesn't understand the chaos of the situation that he finds himself in.
I don't know how much you know about football, probably as much as anybody else.
Yeah.
But his role is called that of the playmaker. But he can't make an incisive pass or do something effectual on the pitch, given the role that he specialises in, Paul Gascoigne.
Yes.
Unless he can create a little chaos within the defence that he is trying to destabilise.
Yes.
It's a fact, isn't it?
Yes.
That's his job. We pick him to play for his country so that he will create chaos in an opposing defence.
Yes.
But we don't like it when he creates chaos in and around his workmates.
Yeah, it's my opinion, but it's only my opinion, that the chaos that he creates off the field is because his mind is chaotic, about a chaotic situation. He can't understand that he is the outcome of chaos. And he doesn't know how to react to it.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether he doesn't orchestrate it rather beautifully. Whether he knows it or not, and I think he does.
Well, he could subconsciously do this, yes. Yes, he could. He could be doing things. I mean, he could be aware of this, yes. He could be aware of it. I mean, an awful lot of behaviour is determined by the subconscious mind.
Jim, thanks for your call. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
Call 0500 10 53 89. 0500 10 53 89.
We've been discussing the chaos theory in this hour of the programme. Andrew is our next caller from Guildford. You're on Talk Radio, Andrew. Hello.
Hello there.
Hello.
I'm eating a coconut macaroon. Would you like one?
Now, you see, you talk about coconuts.
Yeah.
No. Yes, I can say this. I'm always reminding people that this has to do with my work. Do you mind, since you talk about coconuts?
Oh, sure.
Well, there's a woman years ago who wrote a stiff letter to the BBC because she turned on her radio. I think she might have been a Guildford woman.
I don't know her.
She turned on her radio and she heard somebody say, "Tits like coconuts," and she turned sentences in the middle.
Yes.
Anyway, you were saying. You were going to say.
Well, I was offering a coconut macaroon.
Don't forget to subscribe and like. Comment too if you wish. Even slap your legs and make a purchase from Ann Summers. But don't do nothing.